What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
I'm not sure about it, to be honest. I don't want Veldora to become involved in our personal matters.
I made the decision to forego asking Veldora to fight beside me since I wouldn't want to engage in combat with my own brother or sister. I wasn't exactly sure what to do next in that situation.
I'll have to let Yuki-boy know about this. I have no doubt that his troops won't be able to hold out indefinitely.
Yes, we must reconsider our approach and stay in touch with Yuki.
My head was spinning with ideas. The troublemaker Diablo then dropped a bomb.
Guy appears to be involved as well, so I called him. Let's hear what he has to say as he should be here shortly.
Huh? I couldn't help but maintain a blank expression while gazing at Diablo. When he gave me that embarrassed look, I almost killed him. At a time when things are so difficult, what kind of pointless thing is this moron doing to me?
You contacted him?
Yes.
Yes? No. I was furious, but I had to pay attention to this. Anyhow, I would adjourn the meeting for the time being and get ready for Guy's arrival. When Guy arrived, he appeared to be unhappy.
Hey, I'm here. By the way, calling me over is a pretty big deal, isn't it?
You are correct. However, I wish you had said that to Diablo rather than me. Guy awkwardly sat down in his chair. To avoid insulting him, I led him to the guesthouse's opulent drawing room, but I might have been too hasty. Only royalty and nobility were permitted access to the guesthouse. If something here got out of hand, that would be a huge loss. Miles-kun, who was renowned for his aesthetic sensibility, chose the furniture for the guesthouse. There were also some priceless works of art from different nations. The pieces fit my style and were less ostentatious than spectacular. The room's wabi-sabi aesthetic revealed Miles' keen sensitivity. Rigard and his pals weren't old enough to proceed to this level yet. They would not be able to distinguish between high-end and low-end aesthetics of objects as easily since they did not have the opportunity to handle works of art. Nevertheless, Rigard had described feeling a sense of home in this area, so we might have similar tastes. So, let's just leave it as that for the time being and just worry if Guy actually loses control. I made the decision to take some harm because there wasn't another room that would have been adequate for him. It was impossible for me to take Guy, the most powerful demon lord, to a shared reception area. There was a slight creaking coming from the chair. It was made of the best quality fragrant wood. Although soft sofas were great, the sturdy wooden chairs were far more comfy. They conveyed a sense of being at one with nature and encircled by a forest. I was relieved and decided it would be wonderful to let everyone else go so Diablo could make things right. The Imperial team was escorted back to the 70th floor. As their guide, Gabble was tasked with looking after them while Adelman was away. The escort for Masayuki was to be handled by Soe. To ensure the seamless operation of the city center, which had been evacuated through the labyrinth, Rigard was tasked with getting in touch with all the parties involved. Vesta was consulted by Kaijin, who then asked him to inform King Gazel of our recent meeting. Since I did not want to keep anything from him, I would get in touch with him later as well. Gadra was to share information with Yuki. He believed that in order to decide on the best course of action for the future, it was important to communicate the existing situation. In the other room, Gobta and Hakuro awaited. The three demon girls were also requested to join the waiting group in order to cope with any potential issues. Given their potential actions, it would be prudent to keep them away from Guy. That is why I decided to take this action. We four then made our way to the reception area. Me, the perpetrator Diablo, followed by Benimaru and Shion. Guy, though, showed up with three female companions. Guy was seated next to a woman that resembled Milam in appearance. She had deep blue eyes, and her shiny white hair reflected light like a lake. She was a wonderfully gorgeous woman, but depending on how you looked at her, she also seemed a little immature and childish. Given that she sat down fiercely and without hesitation, there was no hierarchy between Guy and her. In other words, they shared the same rank and had a very constrained existence. Maybe she is.
This is the first time the two of you have met. Let me introduce you. This is Velzard, Veldora's sister. Her alternate name is the Frost Dragon, so you'll need to memorize both.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Demon Lord Rimuru-sama. Velzard is my name. My brother seems to be in your care, so I wanted to stop by and say hello.
I was correct. She is one of the most formidable, true dragons, and Veldora's sister. Her name was Velzard, the Frost Dragon. She greeted me with such grace. She was sitting on the chair in the most beautiful way. It appears that she liked the way the wood smelled. However, she smiled elegantly, but I could feel a chill running down my spine. After seeing Veldora every day, I assumed I was familiar with the true dragon race, but this girl was different. She was a terrifying woman who seemed to come from another world. Recently, Veldora had managed to manipulate his Yuki with a fair amount of accuracy. I also thought it was perfect, but when Velzard-san stood in front of me, I realized I was wrong. She had a very natural way of regulating her Yuki. She had complete control of her Yuki, as evidenced by the fact that she made no attempt to make herself known to me. I would not have known she was a true dragon if I had not been introduced to her. On the contrary, I may have mistaken her for a human being, but I could never have misjudged her because her strength and attractiveness were obvious.
Hello, my name is Rimuru. I'm a demon lord. Your brother has been very helpful to me.
Why do I usually greet people this way? And why is the Wisdom King Raphael-san silent at this particular moment? While one side attempted to be cordial to her, another believed that this was simply illogical.
Oh, you're so modest, sweetie. You don't need to be so defensive of me.
Velzard-san grinned and appeared content. Her air of cool composure suddenly vanished, and she appeared to be a cute girl instead. She looked exactly like a high school girl, to be honest. Once again, I was convinced she was related to Milam. Her smile saved me as the oppressive atmosphere lightened. The greetings continued, and we introduced everyone. The other two were Rain the Blue Primordial, Blue, whom I had never seen before, and Misery the Green Primordial, Vert, whom I had previously encountered. They appeared out of nowhere behind Guy wearing their customary dark red maid costumes. They appeared to be of the same level as Diablo and the others, however the way they stepped back suggested otherwise. Even so, a primordial could not be mistaken. They were the most powerful of the demons, and they were clearly distinct from mere demon peers. I would exercise extreme caution to avoid offending them. I was so resolved to do the introductions correctly that I took my time doing it. Benimaru, who was seated next to me, was alright, but I was apprehensive when I introduced Shion. By the time I got to Diablo, I felt like I was dealing with bombs. I wished I hadn't chosen this lineup, but it was too late. I asked Shuna to make some tea while she was showing folks around after they had all taken their seats. Shuna performed her duties without displaying any signs of agitation after understanding what was required. No, not just Shuna. Every server was going about their business as usual, as if it made no difference to whom they were serving. They were now experts in their field. All of this was the outcome of Vesta's rigorous training. We then moved on to the main subject after taking a break with a cup of tea that Shuna had provided.
Of course, the reason I requested you to come today is because I had a question for Guy.
What is that?
The Empire attacked us, but we were able to repel them. We had been considering launching an invasion from our side when we learned that Velgrund, your sister, was also a part of the Empire. And based on the data I've obtained, I believe there may be some type of link between the Empire and you.
Oh, you noticed, I see.
Guy gave me a cheerful smile after I explained. I felt uneasy about this. I didn't want to hear about it anymore, but I guess I'm out of options now.
You've been attempting to stop the Empire from getting stronger. Wasn't that why you wanted to keep Yuki alive? Although I am aware that you did not intend to destroy Western nations, I assume that wasn't your primary motivation. Who are you competing against in the game you previously mentioned?
I feigned not to be concerned even though I was. I had to know if Velgrund was a part of the Empire or if a menace of similar size was hiding in the shadows. There is a high probability that my people would be slaughtered if I invade without being aware of it. I asked Guy the question, looking him in the eyes.
Now I'll tell you if you've noticed all this.
Guy responded immediately. Despite my fear, I calmly listened to what he had to say.
Actually, I placed a wager with a jerk. That guy talked so much about crazy ideas that I wanted to show him what was really going on. We consequently made the decision to play a game against one another using only the pawns we had instead of engaging in direct combat.
In other words, if you leave someone else to fight and beat all of your opponent's pawns, you win.
What do the pawns in your possession refer to?
Without asking, I was already aware of it.
Well, it's you guys.
Right. That's what I envisioned. I wish people wouldn't use me as a pawn, but I'm not going to start whining right now. Let us just try to be reasonable and gather some good information.
So, the Empire's Emperor is your adversary?
I knew I was right, but I still wanted to make sure. Guy and Velzard were seated close to each other, so the person seated next to Velgrund must be the other player in the game. That might not have been the Emperor, though, so I would have to ask Guy to confirm.
Correct. My rival is Emperor Rudra of the Empire.
Guy told me with enthusiasm, as if he had no intention of keeping it a secret. Is this Rudra as powerful as Guy considering that he called him his rival? Otherwise, he couldn't win, right? There was nothing more frustrating than playing a game where there was no obvious way to win.
Could I speak?
Benimaru stood beside me and spoke fearlessly. Benimaru was fantastic while right in Guy's presence.
Yes, that's okay. Permit me to inquire, then, what requirements must be met to win this game? Does capturing all of Emperor Rudra's pawns suffice, or must you also defeat him?
Oh, well, that was undoubtedly significant. We stood a much better chance of victory if we could neutralize Rudra's pawns, which are the troops of the Empire, rather than having to defeat him, as I had previously believed. There were still some bad guys around, but it was better than battling someone on Guy's level.
Getting rid of Guy might be one way to fix this.
You idiot!
I couldn't help but yell at him, and Guy's angry voice merged with mine. Really, it's exhausting. Guy and I both nodded to each other, indicating that we both had the same sentiment. In fact, I was thankful to Diablo for it, since I had never anticipated being able to relate to Guy in that way. However, I need to take away some points for saying something that might have offended Guy. Anyhow, I instructed Diablo to remain silent for a bit.
How about the response to Benimaru's question, Guy?
Without responding, he simply stared at me. His mouth opened in a sneer, and my danger detection instinct immediately sounded the alert.
Rimuru-kun.
Wow, this makes me feel so uneasy. There was more to this than merely a foreboding. When I call Murmiles and Veldora with the kun prefix, they always make subtle facial expressions, which I appear to comprehend. I was certain that I was currently sporting the exact identical look on my face.
Actually, I need your help with something.
I reject.
Alright, just listen.
I wanted to say, you listen to me. Even though it was appealing, this was still Guy. I was forced to listen to him since I couldn't risk upsetting this haughty man. However, despite his subtle smile, Murmiles-kun always seemed pleased to hear from me. In my instance, I was seized with a strong urge to reject Guy completely.
I want you to put a stop to that idiot Rudra. I won't ask you to defeat him. Simply deal with the pawns and ensure my victory instead.
Guy spoke, maintaining his wicked demeanor. He got out of the chair and followed me. He squeezed my shoulders and talked some more.
You'll carry it out, won't you?
My shoulder was being stroked by a hand that got stronger. Could this be a threat?
What will I get if I comply with your request?
Since I was unable to say no, I tried to negotiate for better terms instead. I made the decision to negotiate as much as I could, even though it might be foolish with Guy.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Ma'am Wang Min, Vastolord, Martin Ramos, Marl Barsha, Ralph Ignacio, Chris Nelson, Karen, Mark Charlie Els, Hansel Ortega, Yellow Wally. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.